Alright, number 7, this time we want to solve the system using Gaussian elimination. So I'm going to show you how to do it by hand once with the 2x2. I'm also going to show you how to do it in the calculator. I want you to be able to use that to check. And then we'll probably do at least a 3x3. At least I'll start it because it's kind of complicated, but I'll start one of those and then show you how to do it with the calculator as well. Alright, so we have 2 rows, 3 columns. This would be a 2x3 matrix. But we're going to be focusing on the right side to solve this. Okay, so we're going to set up this matrix. We have as our coefficients a 1 and a 3, and then we have a 5 and a 7, and then equal sign 2 and 18. Okay, you want to focus like this. Alright, so our goal when we're doing this to solve is to get this box part right here to be in this form. We want a 1, a 0, 0, 1. And whenever we get that, whatever the numbers are here will be our answer. Okay, so notice X was in the first row. So right here we see a 1. We see a 1 in the X position. So whatever number is here, that's telling us the answer for X. And then Y was in the second position in the equation. Both Y's were here. So 1 here indicates, and notice a 0 here, so no X. 1Y is going to be equal to whatever this number is. Okay, so that's how we read this matrix. Alright, so I already have a 1 in this position. So I'm going to use that to, well, actually I'm going to simplify. I guess it doesn't matter what you do. I'm going to use this 1 since I already have a 1 to zero out this row right here. Alright, so to do that, I'm going to multiply row 1 by -5. So this is row operation. Row 1 by -5. And I'm doing -5 to, when I add it to +5, it will be 0. So -5 times row 1 plus row 2. That's going to be my new row 2. Alright. So my row 1 is going to be unaffected. I have a 1, 3, and 2. It's going to stay the same. Now the actual math behind the scenes is a -5, -15, -10, because I'm multiplying all that by -5 and adding it here. So 5, 7, and 18. Adding these up, this gives me a 0, -8, and this gives us 8. So we have 0, -8, and 8. Alright. Now, again, remember my goal is 0 1s in that order. Alright, so since it's not an easy multiple here, I mean, we could do it. I'm just going to multiply row, well, actually, we're going to divide it by -8. That's going to get me a 1 here because I'm trying to get this to be a 1. So I'm going to do row 2 divided by -8, and it's going to give me my new row 2. So row 2 divided by -8 is going to be my new row 2. Okay, so I'm going to take this row and just divide by -8, and I'm going to leave row 1 alone. So I get 1, 3, 2, and dividing this by -8, this still is a 0. -8 divided by -8 is a 1, and 8 divided by -8 is a -1. Okay, so I have this row 0, 1. This one is good. Now I'm going to use this 1 to manipulate this 3 because I want this to be a 0. So in order to make that happen, I have to multiply this by -3. So when I add a +3, it goes to 0. So I'm going to do the row -3 -3 times row 2, and I'm going to add that to row 1, and it's going to be my new row 1. Okay, so I'm doing -3. That's still going to be 0. -3 will give me a 3. Add that to be 0. -3 will be a +3. Add that. That will give us 5. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write down this last matrix here. So I'm doing a lot of mental math, talking you through it. Write down as much as you need. So row 2 is not being affected because we're manipulating row 1 right now, or trying to add it to row 1. So I'm multiplying by -3. -3 is 0. Add it to 1 is still 1. -3 is a -3. Add it to 3, that gives us 0. -3 gives us a +3. Add it to 2, that gives us 5. Okay, so here's our argumented matrix. This tells us in position 1, x equals 5. And y in this column equals -1. And you can always go back and plug it into the equation. Now, it's a lot of work. I only want to show you once. I'm going to let you guys use the calculator unless you're going to be doing this more. You can practice on it. So here is how you do this in the calculator. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to clear out what I have. Second plus 7, 1, and 2, and reset the calculator. Alright, so I'm starting from the top, just entering the coefficients from the original equation. So you're going to go to matrix 3 times. So second, and then right below the math button, this x -1 has matrix in yellow, second matrix. We have to go over to edit, so arrow right 2 times to edit, and we're just going to hit enter on number 1 for A. Now you have to tell it how many rows, how many columns. So we got 2 equations, 2 rows, 3 columns. So we're going to say 2, enter, 3, enter. We have a 2 by 3. All right. And we're going to enter the coefficients. So just like here, x was 1, there was 1x. Coefficient on the y was 3. So same thing we wrote here. And then the equal sign other side was a 2. Alright, second row is 5. And then 7. And then 18. Alright, so once you get all this entered, double check, make sure you haven't missed a sign or typed something wrong. That will be the biggest mistake or most likely error that people will make, is entering data incorrectly. So check everything. Once you verify, we're going to go second, quit, to just get out. Alright, so now we're going to tell it to solve it for us. So you're going to go back, second matrix. Alright, so we went to edit. Now we're going to the middle math. So we're going to arrow right to the middle. And it's going to be easier if you arrow up. So you're going to arrow up to RREF. In this term you will see in the section, RREF stands for Reduce Row Echelon Form. And what it's doing is it's solving the equation and setting it up like this. This is what we call Reduce Row Echelon Form. So we're going to go to option B and hit enter. And now the calculator is saying, okay, what matrix do you want me to solve this for? So you have to go second and matrix one more time, and you're already on the matrix. And we're going to just hit enter on A. And it's saying, okay, I'm going to do reduce row echelon form to matrix A, and then you hit enter. And notice it's the same thing that we got here. So it does it pretty much in an instant. It goes through all of these steps, and maybe you do them in a different order. It doesn't matter the order, just so long as you do the math correctly. And you get this. So this is how you read it. First column, where you see the 1, that's the first variable. X is 5, and Y is -1. You just have to know how to read this once you get it in your calculator. So we want to say that there is one solution, and the X value was 5, the Y value was -1.